All righty. Ephesians 6:10 through 20. Finally, be continually empowered in the Lord and in the might of his strength. Put on the whole armor of God for you to be able to stand against the schemes and designs of the devil. Because our wrestling is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenlies. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God in order that you'll be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Therefore, stand, having girded your waist with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having put on your feet firm footing of the good news of peace. With all these things, having taken up the shield of faith, by which you'll be able to quench all the flaming darts of the evil one, and take up the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. While praying, by means of all prayer and petition, at all times in the Spirit, and to this very thing keep watch, and with all perseverance and petition concerning all the saints, and for me, in order that to me may be given words in the opening of my mouth in boldness, to make known the mystery of the gospel, on behalf of which I am an ambassador in chains, in order that I may be bold in it as it is necessary for me to speak. My exegetical idea was, is, to be strong in the Lord, you must stand against evil with the armor of God and pray. All right. This has been a work in progress, and I must say it's evolving, for lack of better words. It's changing. It's getting closer and closer, but I need to get something out. I need to get this done, and I can't say that next time it wouldn't be more different. But at this point, this is where I'm at. To be strong in the Lord, you must stand against evil with the armor of God and pray. Now, that's a lot to be said here. Most people are focusing just on the 6 pieces of armor. William Gurnall wrote a whole book on that, and it's a real thick book. And as my friend pointed out, he spends a whole chapter or two just on the word taking up the shield of faith. Just taking up is a whole chapter. How deep can you go? But we don't want to lose the forest for the trees here. So let me just highlight a few things here so that we can see some relationships between some of these concepts. Prayer is mentioned here, or all. You're supposed to pray all prayers at all times with all perseverance for all the saints. For alls. We have up here standing 4 different times. You have withstand and to stand, and therefore stand. So here you have, you have 4 stands. To be continually empowered, this idea of, present middle imperative. Let me see my paperwork here. Okay. Here's my Greek, so I can look at that. You have this interpreted in the English, be strong, which is a continual action, be empowered. And the key here is that it's in the Lord and of his strength. So it's God's power. And that's really key to understand all this, because in relationship to chapter 4, or actually chapters 1 through 3, God's saving, or his sovereign power, his glory, he has saved us by his grace in the work of Christ. And so therefore, based upon his mighty love for us and salvation, how should we live? In chapter 4, he says, walk worthy. Well, then in chapter 5, we should be imitators, or walk in light, walk in love, walk in wisdom. And then he says, within that walking in wisdom, walking wisely, we should submit to one another. So then he talks about the household codes. So being an imitator of God, we're walking worthy. And here we're standing in God's power. We're living in God's power, fighting the devil, the evil, and the fiery darts of the evil one. So you have these three aspects of darkness that we're combating. That's really important for us to see. So let me bracket this and show you exactly how I got all this. We have praying at all times and all means with the purpose in order that. Those are both hina clauses. So this would be a means to an end. Praying with this goal in order that words might be given to Paul to make the mystery known and that he would be bold to make known the mystery of the gospel. That's the purpose of praying that this would happen. Okay. You have standing. To understand standing, standing is understood in relationship to having the arm. You're standing with the armor of God on you. So that would be a clarification or a way to an end. How do you stand? You stand with the armor of God on you. Okay. Then up here at the top, we have put on the whole armor of God. And then you have take up the whole armor of God. So the repetition there being the whole armor of God. So be strong. How do you be strong? You put on the whole armor of God. Both of these right here, this is not a gar clause. Gar typically is interpreted for, but instead both of these are pros. And what's interesting about that, here, let me just put it here and show you in the Greek. You don't see it in the English translation, but it helps us to understand this putting on the armor of God, the purpose of it. Pros, with the accusative, is to stand, to be able to stand the wiles, the schemes. This word right here is pretty cool. The methodeus, or method, kind of like Methodism, the method of the devil. Okay, the wiles of the devil is a classic interpretation. King James Version, the wiles of the devil, the designs of the devil. So you put on the armor of God with a purpose to be able to stand against the devil's schemes, because you're not wrestling against flesh and blood. We're talking about principalities. We're talking about powers, principalities, and power of evil. Okay, in order you might withstand in the evil day, that by which you may be able to quench the flaming darts, having the shield of faith against the evil one. The lives that we live, while they might be physical and we're trying to witness as imitators of God to people in the world, we are combating an unseen force as well in this challenge to walk worthy. Walk worthy. We are walking worthy before people, and we're walking worthy as we combat the enemy. All right, so that's chapter 4, chapter 5, and now chapter 6. All right, so you put on the armor of God for this purpose, this pros, and so I'd say that because this would be a clarification or a reason because of this, and you put it on, let's see, as a means to an end. Put on to do this. Okay, to be able to stand. Actually, you could go like that, means to an end, and then this would connect to that. Either way. All right. Therefore, so you have that armor of God. Therefore, all right, now this is dia, tuta, it says in the Greek, dia tuta. In the English, it just says therefore, so you would think that it could be a hun. Actually, down this therefore is a hun, which makes a big difference. This is a dia, tuta, tuta, and down here we have praying, and this it begins in the Greek with a dia as well. Okay, so sometimes when you're working in the Greek, you see things that you don't see in the English. There's clear relationships, subordinating relationships, modifying relationships, and so that's what I'm bringing out, what you can't see in the English, which you're going to see in just a second right here, the main problem being right here. I'm setting the stage here for the conclusion of the problem. How do I deal with this problem? So you have be strong. How do you be strong? You put on the whole armor of God, clarify it again, therefore put on the whole armor of God in order that you might be able to withstand the day of evil. So it's a means to an end. You put on, or you take up to that purpose right there. Okay? Therefore, stand. All right, now this therefore stand is a way and an end, and our relationship there. So you have this being connected to this. This would be a ground, and this would be the main point. So you put on the armor of God to stand. And you stand girded or with the armor on you. I mean, the way in which you stand. Okay, so the emphasis is here. You put on the whole armor of God to stand. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God in order to withstand. Therefore, stand, that is, with the armor of God on while praying. And this is where the problems come. I've emphasized that there's a dia here and a dia here. In the English, it's interpreted in a variety of ways. This phrase right here in verse 18, and I'm going to show you three, the New American Standard, the ESV, and the NIV. The ESV is the RSV as well. So in 4, it says here in the New American Standard, with all prayer and petition, pray at all times in the Spirit. Okay? By means of all prayer and petition, pray. Now in the Greek, this participle phrase, praying, follows by means of all prayer and petition. But I've put it in the front to make the emphasis while praying with standing and praying. Okay? Now, the NIV says, verse 18, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. So they added a conjunction here, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions, at all times. That's what they're doing. So they're saying pray at all times in the Spirit with all prayer and petition. All right. Now, let me clarify one more time just to show you the confusion. This is the ESV, which is also the RSV, takeoff of the RSV. Praying at all times in the Spirit with all prayer and supplication. So they have praying I'll put in by means of all prayer and petition at all times. Praying at all times in the Spirit with prayer and supplication. So the ESV is closest and the RSV are closest to what I'm doing here and trying to point out, that there is a question of relationship of praying and standing. What role does praying have with, because it follows right on the heels of the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Let's see here. Then it goes on to say, while praying, through all prayer and petition. Through all prayers and petitions. Or I'll put while praying. All right, anyway. Because it's a participial phrase, and it's following on the Word of God, there's a question, is this connected to the Word of God? The helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, or it's definitely not one of the pieces of armor here. It's totally separate from that. So what is it connected to? I'm saying it's connected to standing. I am supported in this, I believe, by William Hendrickson. I found this yesterday after our Bible study. I was putting more work into it because we spent so much time struggling over it. William Hendrickson said this: in his own power, the soldier can do nothing against so great a foe. That's the emphasis there about being strong in the Lord and in his strength. We can't do it. We can't fight the devil in that evil day, the evil one, the principalities. We cannot fight the evil one in our own strength. We have to be strong in the Lord. In his own power, the soldier can do nothing against so great a foe. Hence, as he takes and puts on each piece of armor, and that is, in standing, you put on the armor of God, the 6 pieces of armor, and as he makes use of it in the battle, he must pray. It seems to me that as he makes use of this in his standing in that hour, standing against in that evil day, against the devil and all these principalities, as he's in warfare, he is praying. That's what Hendrickson said, and it seems to fit what I am saying. And I've come to this conclusion because of the 2 dias. I believe that verse 13, it says dia tauta, or tuta, therefore take up the whole armor of God with the purpose that you may be able to withstand in the day of evil, to stand. Okay, that's the purpose. Standing, you're putting on the armor of God to stand and pray. So my conclusion here is that this is connected. These 2 are connected, standing and praying. Therefore, stand while praying. Okay, that's how you are strong in the Lord. All right. So it says, be strong, be continually empowered in the Lord. Put on. So I'm saying this is a command. Be strong in the Lord. And this is the fulfillment. How you fulfillment. This is how you do it. Be strong in the Lord, and this is how you do it. So to be strong in the Lord, you must stand against evil. But how do you stand? With the armor of God, which is this, while praying. And pray. Hopefully that makes sense. And it's clear that the emphasis is on how to be strong and combat the evil forces God has given us the means, spiritual armor, to protect us, and prayer, that together these would empower us not only to stand, but even Paul here, to make known the mystery, to speak boldly the mystery of the gospel. There you go.